Yo, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, the place where you learn about body language, non-verbal communication, and everything in between. Yes, today we're going to talk about friendships, relationships, attraction and repulsion, all of that good stuff. And we're going to apply it to a single, simple yet ever so complex non-verbal behavior, yeah? So I personally like to call this behavior blading, although some may call it angular distance, some may just apply it to the alignment of the body, but it's the orientation in space between two people, okay? In, comparison to one another. Yeah, the angular distance is going to measure how attentive we are to one another, how intimate we are being within that communication, in some degree how aggressive we are with each other, dependent on where you stand with each other. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit, people, because I'm getting a little bit of the edge. There we go. It's not great, but it's good enough, eh? So, just as our bodies will orient towards things that we like, and we will move away, we will turn away, we will face away from things we dislike. It's our brain's way of saying get away. In a survival sense, it's ensuring we escape that which we deem repulsive. We're not attracted to this. It's not good for us, okay? It's not good for my mental well-being. It's not good for my physical well-being to exist here in this space facing this. So I'm gonna move away from it, quite literally, physically, okay? So one who is 100% interested in another individual may face them fully frontally, yeah? And if two were to face each other fully frontally, body to body, first and foremost, that's an exposure of the ventral side, the internal organs, and the genitals and so forth, making this incredible, intimate magic between each other. Very vulnerable, okay? And that's why it would also become a space of subconscious, well, let's not even call it subconscious. You would feel fear and discomfort given you were this fully frontal positioned with somebody whom you aren't necessarily attracted to, okay? It will become uncomfortable because you'd be exposing that which you need to protect to somebody whom you deem repulsive, alright? So in job interviews and just general sort of one-to-one communications and so forth, it tends to be a lot better to blade your body, to angle your body a little aside those whom you are dealing with, because you don't want to, and you will, spark this feeling of distaste and discomfort and potential aggression, and potentially intimidate those whom you're trying to get on your, on your wavelength, okay? I used to sell things in the street, yeah? And when I would do so, it would be very simple to know when I had them and when I didn't, purely based on how their body was angled in correlation to mine. I used to sell to women first and foremost, purely down to the fact they were easier to persuade. That's just the way things were. And in doing so, I would be able to discover they had places to go and definitely places to be, as opposed to being given the hard sell by a random stranger in the street, by how their body would contort and do anything to escape the communications and situations they were now within, Whereas when I had their attention and they were engaged with my communications, they would face me fully frontal, in security, in intimacy. And you have to see that me in communication with them face to face, torso to torso, feet to feet, excludes the outside world. There's no space for a third party to join in without being an uncomfortable third wheel. There's no entrance for another party. It is just between us. And so when man to man and whomever if you weren't to approach it in a sexual manner, you can look at that intimacy as something potentially aggressive or a communication that the outside world shouldn't be let in on. Because you're close up, you couldn't be any closer as far as the angling is concerned. It's very secure, it's foolproof. You have joined each other in communication to the point as to where you have mirrored each other. You are in isopraxis. You completely face each other, you see? If you're in a coffee shop trying to attract someone, you may slowly and surely, probably on a subconscious basis, start to slowly turn towards them as you continue paying attention. Your brain is paying attention to them. You might have them in your peripheral view, and your body is actually going to join the dance outside of your awareness by slowly turning inwards and facing them. And the vice versa as to when it comes to them. Of course, first and foremost, the feet will indicate the direction as to which your attention is facing, you know? As the feet comes first and foremost, the feet are outside of the brain's awareness the most, as it is the most distanced from the brain. So on a conscious basis, we can't really pay too much attention all the time as to where our feet are pointing. I know I don't, you know? So consider this. If you are speaking to someone, let's put it in a non-sexual environment, yeah? If you are in an engagement with your boss or your supervisor or your management or your distributor, investor, this is purely business, yeah? And you pull them over to one side to speak with them. And I say this because this is going to be somewhere you'll see it quite often. If you pull them over to talk to them about improvements that can be put into effect on a product you are developing, and you're speaking, and they take some time to listen to you, and then as you continue speaking, you see their body start to distance themselves, not through proximity, but more so through the angle as to which they're facing. They start to slowly turn away from you. You could consider that not too far off of a cold shoulder first and foremost. I mean, a cold shoulder is to when you get given the shoulder, right? I'm sure you've heard that term before, and maybe you haven't, but that's a new one for you if not. But it's an escape mechanism for leaving the communication. Like Harry Houdini, they are establishing this defensive posture to move on. They are not open to you no more. We speak of open and closed body language. It's closing off to you, yeah? They're less and less receptive because you're not speaking to their heart no more. You're speaking to their ribs, you're speaking to their shoulders, you're speaking to their back. You see the back of their head, they're not even facing and acknowledging you no more. They're out the door, goodbye. You see how it happens, yeah? So that was a little overview on the angles of the body. It's to be paid attention to, okay? It's a great way to establish intimacy and know where you're standing in selling them your discussion and communications at that moment in time. And as they start to feel more comfortable, and you likewise, you will start to turn inwards towards each other to an intimate state. You will be more likely to face somebody face to face on a sexual basis as far as the intimacy is concerned, as if it was a man-to-man situation. Given it wasn't a sexual one, it could definitely be taken as aggressive. I did a little video in regards to why you feel awkward passing people in the street, and ticks them boxes. Men don't like to be approached fully frontally. It's within our survival mechanism to deem that inappropriate. Whereas for women, it's to be approached from behind, alright? So don't do that. If you want to approach someone, you do so from the oblique. You do so from the side, okay? Because that is the least threatening position to establish communication with someone, alright? Not fully frontal. You don't want to jump in communication by shocking their subconscious brain, their primitive brain. Alright, hopefully that was a little bit of food for thought. Without further ado, I'm signing in. If you got any comments, please leave them. I'm signing out. Click subscribe.